We are live on Facebook, and I'm a little fiery today. If you want to shorten your child's life, then shorten their sleep. Whoa, Pam, isn't that a little intense? Yes, it is, but I really want parents to wake up to the reality that you need to take action with your child's sleep. So I'm so glad that you've tuned in today for our Facebook Live. Today we're focusing on school-age children from 5 to age 10. I started this series of Facebook Lives on Monday with newborns, and my inspiration, as you can see behind me, is World Sleep Day was last Friday. And I am a proud member of the World Sleep Society, and I want you to take action today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, but today, to get your tiny human to get to sleep. Because if you do have a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, or 10-year-old, I think you would agree with me that the days were long, but the years have gone by really fast. My name is Pam, and I'm the proud founder of Pam Nease Sleep, which was established in 2009 to rescue parents just like you from the plight of sleep deprivation by giving you the tools that you need to teach your child to sleep. I was once ready to jump off the bridge and take the baby with me. He's now 14 years old, and I am so thankful that he learned this vital life skill for so many reasons, but he's about to learn to drive. Think about your 5-year-old about to learn to drive, or your baby about to learn to drive. One of the impacts of sleep deprivation is something called a microsleep. I remember being in university and doing the constant head bob. Anybody with me on that? Well, imagine your teenager, your tiny human, if you've got a baby watching with you, or your 5-year-old now driving and being sleep deprived, having a microsleep, and you losing the most precious gift that we are ever given, and that is a tiny human life, the gift of having a child in the first place. So I'm really glad that you've tuned in today. Heads up, I'm going to be fiery, I'm going to be controversial, and the reason why is when I'm talking to parents with babies and infants and even preschoolers and toddlers, I'm trying to educate and empower those parents to take action. But if you haven't taken action by now, you really need to do so for the vital life of your child for so many reasons. And if you flip the coin and you look at, okay, like a dentist once did, he said to me, he said, Pam, you know, I can understand now why it's called sleep hygiene, like dental hygiene. And I'm like, okay, well, Dr. Dentist Guy, tell me more. And this is the thing that I love the most about working one family at a time. We meet fascinating people from all walks of life with fascinating stories. Anyways, this dentist said, you know what? I'm constantly educating parents to take 30 seconds to 3 minutes to get their kids to brush their teeth and floss their teeth. And if you've had a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or even a 1-year-old and you're teaching them how to brush their teeth, that can be a slog, parents. But why do we do it? Why do we take that time in their early days? Well, as this dentist once said to me many years ago, he educates parents to floss their teeth for 2 reasons. One, we want all our children to have nice white smiles so that they can be successful in life. Second reason, let's be honest, parents, we want to save ourselves a lot of dollars. So by teaching your child to sleep, even at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's never too early to teach a child to sleep, nor is it ever too late. You're going to save yourself a lot of heartache, a lot of headaches, a lot of money, and you're going to set your child up for success. And oh my gosh, I'm a mom too, and isn't that what we want for our future leaders of tomorrow? To be set up for success. So I want you to start asking your sleepy questions below. I have my phone in front of me because we are live on Facebook, but we're live streaming. And so there's a 6 to 10 second delay. And so my assistant in Vancouver by the name of Sarah, who's so amazing, she's going to be feeding me questions throughout today's presentation. So don't be shy. If you've got a baby or if you've got a toddler or preschooler and you've taken the time to be here with me today, then feel free to ask your sleepy question and I'd be honored to help you with the answer. Now, we've collected some questions in advance through our newsletter because people said, hey, I've got questions. I did sleep training when they're a baby, and now I want to make sure that I don't screw things up, Pam, because now my kids in school are about to start school, and I see other parents who are struggling with sleep. I don't want that to happen to me. So we've collected questions in advance, and I'll be sharing those questions as well as the answers. And I invite you to start asking your questions now. If you've just tuned in, my name is Pam, and I'm the proud founder of Pam Nease Sleep, and we're talking 5 to 10-year-olds and how you can get them sleeping like machines, or perhaps you did sleep training when they were a baby, and now things have gone a little bit sideways and you need to clean up their sleep, so to speak. Whatever the reason you're here with me today, I want you to get the most out of your time, so start asking your questions. So let's get started. I did sleep training with my daughter when she was 5 months old with your company. She's now 6 and in school, and I see other parents having sleepovers with their children. Is that okay? So my best advice, and what she means by sleepovers, because I've witnessed this too. If you've just tuned in, my name is Pam, and I've got a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. And the one thing that I've been able to count on in all these years is that when I say go to sleep, they go to sleep easily and stay asleep easily. And that's what I want for you and this mom. So this mom is wondering, can she do these little sleepovers? So every once in a while, is it okay to share the bed with your child as a treat, so to speak? I see this a lot on social media. I see my friends doing it. I see everybody doing it. My best advice is don't take the risk. You've taken the time. You've invested in your child's sleep. And my best advice, based on my experience working with one family at a time, is don't take the risk of doing this every once in a while. Why? Well, there was one mom that I worked with out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and she taught her child how to sleep. And one night in a hotel room, they were there for a special concert, and they decided to treat themselves to a hotel room. She didn't follow my travel tips advice. She decided to share the bed with her daughter just one time, and when they got back home, her daughter wanted to sleep with her every night. So everything in life, I say, why take the risk? The brain and the body, and that's just one of many examples, the brain and the body is a very powerful tool. And if you create that association with every once in a while sleeping with your child, then you run the risk of them wanting to sleep with you every single time. The other risk that you might face is the other sibling. So this happened to me recently. A set of professors from one of our universities, they actually teach behavior modification every day. They're psychologists as well as professors. Dad said to me, he goes, Pam, you know, we teach this every day, but what you do is put it into practical application, plus you hold us accountable. Well, what happened with this family, they hired my company when their son was a baby, and he had phenomenal sleep until he was 3 years old. And then the light bulb went on, and he saw what was going on with his older brother and how his older brother got extra attention at night, and that dad or mom would lay down with older brother in order to sleep. So these are the risks that I don't want you to take. You've taken the time, you've taken the energy, and you might say, Pam, this sounds extreme. I know. It's just I don't want to prevent, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now, if you do take the risk, well, that's okay. Time, instead of it being a treat, so to speak, I really suggest if you're going to have these sleepovers, then you make it like camping. You're downstairs in the basement and you're doing like tenting or camping and that kind of shared experience, rather than you parents sleeping in the bed in their bed or inviting your child into your bed, okay? And I do have comprehensive travel tips on how you can navigate interesting and unique situations, because my goal with all families is, yes, you make sleep a priority, but you're still having fun, because oh my gosh, why do we have children in the first place? Well, we want to raise the future leaders of tomorrow, but we don't want to live a life of exhaustion, nor do we want to live a life of rigidity. So I'm really trying to get parents to be able to honor their child's sleep, make it a priority in loving, simple, practical, and yes, fun ways so that they can honor their lives too. Okay, next question. Many of my friends are saying their children have growing pains. What can they do? Mine are not currently. If they do develop them, how do I handle it? My kids have been awesome sleepers thanks to you, and I don't want to end up being up all night long like I was a few years ago. Okay, so growing pains. I always wondered about growing pains myself. And there are two theories behind growing pains. Yes, your children are growing. They have growth plates and they're growing. One of the best ways to help them grow is not just through healthy nutrition, it's through healthy sleep. Your child's growth can be directly impacted by their sleep. Not only quality, but quantity. Not only quantity, but quality. So with growing pains, yes, they could be growing pains, they could be experiencing that. However, I think, and based on my research, a lot of it has to do with exercise. Like, think about you, mom and dad. What are you doing non-pandemic time? Because this recording is happening just as we're in 2021. We're usually, if we go to the gym or we exercise heavily, how do you feel the next day or even perhaps 2 days later? Is your body sore from all that lactic acid buildup? I know mine is, and I love that hurt. Will I feel it even more when I'm not distracted by technology or surroundings around me? Absolutely. If I'm lying in my bed, I'm going to notice that even more. So, with my clients, I encourage them not to draw a lot of attention to this, because you don't want your child to stop exercising because their body hurts, right? So I do want you to provide your child at bedtime or throughout the night if they're complaining that their little body is hurting. But I really don't want you to feed the problem by drawing a lot of attention to it, because I'm a mom and I'm also helped 2,696 families, one family at a time to date. And what I found is some kids crave any kind of attention they can get, especially in today's busy lives. And as parents, oh my gosh, there's a lot of guilt. And so it's like this guilt game, right? So I really don't want you to draw a lot of attention if they are complaining about growing pains. And I want you to treat the problem with whatever remedy you feel is going to help them. Apparently magnesium is a really great source. Now, I'm not an expert on these things. I'm not a doctor, so I want you to go and talk to your trusted medical professional if your child is really suffering from these pains. The other thing I want you to look at And this is something that I'm really proud of as I've built this company. I took it really slow because I wanted to make sure that clients got proper information as well as outcomes. I didn't know when I first started in 2009 that growing pains could be a sign of restless leg syndrome, which could be an underlying pediatric sleep medical disorder. So if there's a family history of RLS and your child is complaining of growing pains or feeling that sensation, I really want you to go and talk to your trusted medical professional. And another way you can tell whether or not your child isn't getting enough sleep, if it's sleep related, it's based on their optimal behavior. So if you're noticing a change in your child's mood, disposition, and learning behavior during the day, and you've taught them this vital life skill of going from A, awake, to B, asleep, all by themselves, and you've made it a priority, and they're complaining of growing pains, it could be a sign of something else. So I really encourage you to take your child to your trusted medical professional and talk more about it. Now, having said that, when I've been invited to the 2017 Pediatric Sleep Medicine Conference, and then I went back in 2019, if you go and talk to your family doctor about these issues currently in today's North American society, you might get some resistance because there's a real lack of awareness and information about the importance of sleep. And when I'm at that conference, it's a biennial one of the primary topics of concern from these sleep clinicians and researchers is how do we educate family doctors and pediatricians about the importance of sleep and how to help kids get sleep. So we're just on the cusp. It's like it's like the sperm and egg stage when it comes to sleep. There's been a lot of research in the last 20 years on adults, and you can read about that through Why We Sleep from Dr. Walker, one of my heroes. And there's even more important research that needs to be done with our children. So if you've made this already a priority in your life, I applaud you. You're going to set your child up for great success, and they're going to benefit, and your whole family's going to benefit. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. It's been this is my 4th day of doing Facebook Lives. So if you've just tuned in, my name is Pam, and I'm the proud founder of Pam Nease Sleep. And if you're watching the replay, oh my goodness, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this replay. And I'm also got a contest happening right now. So if you've got a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, or 10-year-old, and you want them to get sleep today, just enter today's contest. It's that simple. I'm giving away $3,500 in prizes, including my coveted sleep consultation packages. So the next question that's come in is, what is the recommended amount of sleep my 10-year-old should be getting? Oh, such a great question. So when you go online, you will find varying amounts, right? And I was actually really disappointed by my local school system on what they were recommending to children. If you look at this book, I love this woman. Her name is Mary Kurchinka, and she wrote a book, Sleepless in America. Is your child misbehaving or missing sleep? The interesting story about Mary is she was a parenting coach for years, 20 to 30 years, and she wasn't getting results with a 4-year-old. And the 4-year-old collapsed on the table, and then she started investigating the child's sleep. And this is the fascinating thing. Even if your 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 10-year-old is resisting sleep and doesn't appear to need sleep, how do you know if they need more or better quality? It all has to do with their mood, disposition, and behavior during the day. In a nutshell, regardless of the age, we should wake up happy and go to bed happy 99.9% of the time without the need of any form of stimulant like a coffee, which is the most unregulated drug in the world, and we readily give it to our children. How does that happen, right? So without any kind of stimulant. So your child should be at their optimal. That is ideally the best way to know if your child's getting enough sleep. And I know that's hard. So are there averages? When I'm working with clients one at a time, and now through my consultants that are handpicked and personally trained by me, they're all past clients, and you can read more about that on my website if you're curious. And my whole philosophy and my bio, which heads up, it's a bit of a novel. But why is it a novel? Well, it's tiny fingers, tiny toes, tiny human life, and sometimes parents in very vulnerable situations. So I take your family's sleep very seriously. So the answer to this great question, how much sleep should my child be getting? I recommend that parents with 10-year-olds are aiming for 10 hours every single night. And when I was working with a couple, I used to say until age 18. And because that's when the body or the brain stops maturing. Well, these were psychologists as well, and they said, actually, Pam, the latest research shows that our brains and our bodies don't fully mature until age 20, in their 20s. Now, I know how realistic in today's society with all the distractions that you're gonna get your 20-year-old to go to bed at 8 o'clock every single night and wake up at 6 a.m. the next morning. I know, it's not practical. I know, I can see the heads shaking. However, I do encourage those families with young children to aim for that. How do you know whether or not your child is getting enough sleep, or how do you know if you're getting enough sleep? Well, again, you want to go to bed, or it's based on your mood, disposition, and behavior during the day. So if your 10-year-old is tired and having trouble staying awake at the desk in school, well, yes, that's a real sign that they're not getting enough sleep. So what do you need to do? Well, I'm showing you my Sleep Smarts formula. You need, regardless of the age beyond babyhood, because babies can have varying schedules, when you get into this population or cohort of kids, you want a consistent sleep-wake schedule. It's the same thing with us adults. When we go to bed around the same time of day and we wake up around the same time of the morning, we feel our best. And if we do it 7 days a week instead of 5 days a week, we feel even better, and we don't experience something called social jet lag. Okay? So ideally, if you need your child up at 6:30, let's say, which is a typical time in North American society, most parents want their kids up by 6:30, so there's plenty of time to get those kids to school, then ideally that child should be in bed by 8:30. And I know that's really hard when you're juggling all the needs of children, especially as they get older and older. Many of these activities are taking place after dinner rather than before dinner. And I know it's really hard in North American society because many of us are working until 5:30, and we really want to have good connections with our children. Why did we have kids in the first place? So I know it's difficult to achieve, but that's how we help families achieve these goals, so that they get that one-on-one connection time with their children and still honor all the needs of the family. And here's the nutshell, folks, is when you set up your child for sleep, then they're going to be the most successful. You're paying for coaches for basketball, you're paying for coaches for swimming lessons, and as one client put it, she's like, oh my gosh, I've been wasting my dollars on all of these things. What my child really needed was sleep first. So I invite you to get sleep now. How can you do that? You can enter today's contest, and if you've just tuned in, my name is Pam, and I'm the proud founder of Pam Nease Sleep. So if you're wondering, how do I get access to this whole Sleep Smarts formula? Well, by entering the contest, you're going to have access to a great video that I did for Staples. And it's called Sleep Your Way to the Top. And it's primarily driven for adults. However, a lot of that information can be applied to this population of children, these 10-year-olds, because one of the keys to success is getting technology off early enough so that you can set yourself up for a good night's sleep. The other thing, by entering today's contest, you'll also get access to my 5-step system videos, and whoops, that's not coming down as quickly as I would like it to, but you get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So in my 5-step system, it's talking about, in a series of videos, how you can also set up your child for success and get optimal sleep. So I invite you to enter the contest, and if you're watching this replay long after the contest is over, not a problem. We'll make sure that there's links so that you can access these great videos for free and get my highly proven information to get your baby to sleep. Okay, next great question comes in. Hey Pam, daycare/grocery store Paige here, ha ha ha. Oh my gosh, Paige, how fun is that? It's so great to have you here. So for those of you who are watching, Paige looked after my 2 children when they were small, and she was amazing. And I run into her every once in a while at one of our local grocery stores. My son is 5, 6 in September, and I'm wondering how much total hours of sleep he should be getting a night. He is normally in bed by 8 p.m., asleep by 8:30, and up about 6:30. Is 10 hours a night typical? He seems well rested, but will always fall asleep in the car for a cat nap if we go anywhere around lunchtime on the weekend when not at school. I don't mind a cat nap if he needs it, but I'm wondering if he slept a bit longer at night, he would stay awake in the car. You're right, Paige. He's either lacking quantity of sleep or perhaps quality. You might want to take a look at your son and the way he breathes. So I don't know if you remember, Paige, but Max was a mouth breather, and that can really impact the quality of sleep for children. And that's one of the things that I'm proud of as far as building this company. When we're working with families, we look for that in our screening process. And what we do need to do is, in our consultation process, we're talking to that about with our parents. But what I do really need to do a better job of is educating parents after the consultation process is over and reminding them to look into that. So my best advice, Paige, is yes, getting him in bed a little bit earlier, or letting him sleep till 7. Because maybe he just needs to sleep a little bit longer in the morning. So if you are waking up your child, regardless of the age, that is not good. And when I was invited to speak at one of our local private schools, the headmaster opened up my talk, educating the group of parents there that if you're waking up your child in order to get them to, say, hockey or into school or whatever it might be, you're robbing them of their best sleep. And I'm like, oh, wow, I wonder if he's right. Well, I went and did my research, and this headmaster was absolutely correct. I already knew that you shouldn't wake up your child and you should just let them wake up on their own. However, the theory being is that those early morning hours have to do with a lot of memory consolidation. And that's why quite often when we wake up in the morning, what are we thinking about? Our last dream. So if you are waking up your son, Paige, let him sleep till 7, get a little bit more prepared for the day the night before so that it's easier and faster to get out the door in the morning. I hope that's a really great answer to your question. Thanks so much for tuning in. You just made my day. Is it true children grow at night while sleeping? Yes, 100% true. The growth hormone is released when we are asleep. Yeah, and so for adults, the wisdom is that we want to honor our own sleep because the growth hormone helps with our immune system. So the growth hormone is definitely released while we're sleeping, and that's why it's so vital for the health and well-being of your child. And if they're getting optimal sleep, they'll get to their optimal height and weight down the road. What was I going to say about that? Oh, I'll come back to that. So again, if you've just tuned in, my name is Pam. I'm the proud founder of Pam Nease Sleep, which was established in 2009. And I'm a little fired up today because if you haven't taken action and taught your child the vital life skill of going from A, awake, to B, asleep, all by themselves, independent of you, independent of anything, because usually what I see on social media with this age group is that people are resorting to things like essential oils, lullaby music, because the parents don't want to rock the baby anymore. Well, you can't rock a 5-year-old, but basically what parents are doing is they're replacing one external strategy with the next external strategy. Now, no judgment here, parent. I did it too with my baby. I replaced one external strategy, which was my breast, with the next external strategy, which was a soother or pacifier. I couldn't survive anymore and was ready to jump off the bridge and take the baby with me. So my path led me to a sleep consultant, and my life was forever changed. What happens when we're consulting one-on-one with families, what we discover is that these 10-year-olds once had those external strategies as a baby, and now these 10-year-olds, like a case that we're working with right now, still required his mom in order to fall asleep. And then the parents are playing musical beds all night long because, of course, mom doesn't want to stay in bed all night long with her 10-year-old. She's going to leave, right? And then the child wakes up looking for his pillow, quote unquote, his mother. This family is now working with us when they called us 8 years prior because, unfortunately, their marriage broke down and that 10-year-old cannot fall asleep at his father's house. So I'm always delighted to help. It's never too early to teach a baby to sleep, nor is it ever too late to teach a child to sleep. But as one of my clients said really well recently, you want to fix the crack before it becomes a crevice. So do it now, do it now, do it now. Do not delay. If you've got a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, I want you to find a system, and I don't want you to procrastinate anymore. I want you to jump in, and I want to teach your child this vital life skill because it just gets worse, not better, and they don't outgrow it. So you can enter my contest to win, and if you're watching the replay and the contest is over, there's also a link where you can benefit from my services and invest in your child's sleep. And even if you're watching today and you want to invest today, go for it. And then if you win the consultation package, of course, we will give you your money back. Of course we will. So are there some tips for creating a bedtime routine for my 7-year-old? Fabulous question. So yes, the reason why you want to create a bedtime routine with your 7-year-old, it comes down to structure. So regardless of age, whether it's a baby, adult, or child, you want to create an inviting routine every single night so that brain and that body goes, yes, it's time to go from A, awake, to B, asleep, all on their own. So when I'm working with this older population of children and I'm creating some structure around bedtime and working with the family to create something that's going to work for them, I often recommend, even with 7-year-olds, something fun to look forward to. Because if you're saying, oh, it's time to go to bed, how is that child going to be excited about bedtime, right? So you need to make something fun for this 7-year-old to look forward to. So in a recent case that I was talking about yesterday, we were playing hide and seek every single night before bed. Most families with 7-year-olds are still wanting that child to have some kind of hygiene at the beginning of the night. So be it a bath or a shower, okay? And yes, once you create this bedtime routine, you want to stick to it like glue, and you want to do this every single night when you're first teaching a child to sleep. Once they've got this habit well established, no, you don't need to do this step first. But most parents are wanting their kids to get clean before bed, even at 7 years old, because maybe they've gone to soccer practice or hockey or something like that after dinner. So bath shower is always a great step, using the washroom for sure, brushing those teeth, right? And then in this family that I worked with recently with the hide and seek, we actually did a fun, silly thing of hide and seek in this step naked. I know. They were running around the house naked. Why? Well, because sometimes it's difficult to get kids into pajamas. So I wanted to do something fun so that these kids would get motivated to get into their pajamas. They also used to have a snack here, and snacking before bed is not a good idea. And I could do a whole 2-hour episode on why that is. However, I'm always trying to remove snacks out of the equation, out of the bedtime routine, and I wish I had more time to talk about that. So we put this something motivated here, right, so that they could look forward to. Even before going upstairs for their bath and shower, we did something fun. So we were like pretending we were animals or something goofy to get the kids upstairs, because these kids hated bedtime. Let's just be honest. They didn't really want to do bedtime any night, right? So we made it inviting and fun. So we made it fun to get upstairs to have their bathroom activities. Then we made it fun in the middle before they got their pajamas on. And yes, we wanted still to do books every night. I don't think there's a parent out there that doesn't want their child to read a book every single night. Now, when my son was 7, it was awesome because he was reading to me. When he was 5 and reading to me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so slow. And I just wanted to desperately take the book away from him and read it myself, because I wanted him in bed so that I could have some timeout time. So anyways, books for sure. Now, when I say books, I really want you to be clear and set really good expectations with your 7-year-old, because if you some nights do one book because you're in a good mood or the book is short, and the next night you do 3 because, one night you do 1 book because you're in a bad mood and you just want to get it done and move on, and the next night you're in a good mood as a parent and your 7-year-old goes, oh, can we read one more, read one? That causes problems. So you really need to be clear on what your expectations are around book reading. And I don't recommend doing a timer on book reading, because imagine being your child, you're captured into this story, and then you have to stop until tomorrow? Like, how often do we hit that play button on Netflix? Think of them too. So if it's a chapter book, which is quite popular with this age group, then specify how many chapters it is, not based on how much time it is. So if it's a long chapter, well, you just have to suck it up, parent, and listen to that long chapter. Maybe the next night it's going to be a short chapter, but you really got to be clear and consistent with your messaging with your child. And yesterday I was talking about creating bedtime routine charts. I even love doing that with 7-year-olds, making it really clear, mapping it out, what's going to happen every single night. Then, quite often with these 7-year-olds, they want a little attachment time. Oh my gosh, and if you've been sharing the bed with the last 7 years with your child, they're going to miss you, and it's going to be hard for you to separate from them and for them to separate from you. And yes, oh my gosh, family after family after family after family, including my own, when do my children really want to open up and talk to me? frig at bedtime. Throughout the day, even with my 14-year-old, it's like, we get in the car, we drive. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about, parents. They love to talk at bedtime. They open up, and that we don't want to shut down that communication. However, we still want them to go to bed on time, and our anxiety can rise. So I love to call this snuggle cuddle time. And what I do recommend, no, your goal isn't to get them sleepy, drowsy, or relaxed. You want the lights on, and I could do a whole video around that. You want the light on, and yes, you want to set that expectations with the child how long that talk time is going to be. And for 7-year-olds, when we work with families, one family at a time, it's amazing how much you can discuss in 5 minutes. It really is quite shocking. And so what you do is you set the timer, and when the timer goes off at the 5 minutes, you say, okay, son, it's time for you to go to sleep. I love you. We've had a really amazing conversation, and I can't wait to talk to you more tomorrow. But sleep is vital for your health and well-being. This is how you grow. This is how you're going to be that hockey player or that basketball player or that professor in university one day. It makes you smarter, and it makes you excel in whatever thing that your child likes to do. So you see how I'm trying to use their currency. Whatever your child is motivated in, like perhaps they love piano, well, they need sleep in order to recall all the learning that they had with their piano teacher that afternoon or the day before. So you talk about the things that matter most to your child. And I love throwing in heroes into the equation, especially with my 14-year-old. Yes, he's being pressured by his buddies to stay up late. Well, he's a basketball player. So I'm finding basketball players that he admires that make sleep a priority to keep him motivated to go to bed on time. All right, so next questions. Are there health-related issues if my child does not get enough sleep? Yes. There's a myriad of health issues. And I created like a little infographic that I was posting on social media. We'll make sure that it's on there. It's just, there's many versions of us, right? So if adults are suffering from depression, anxiety due to lack of sleep, your child could potentially suffer from that as well. So this is why I am so passionate about what we do at my company, because I want you to invest in sleep and make it a priority so that it's like an insurance policy. I had a dad who was like, hey Pam, when I first looked at your prices, holy F-bomb, I thought it was a lot of money. But then I broke it down, and it's like the price of a cup of coffee. And I'm constantly telling parents to buy insurance policies, right? I'm trying to get my people to buy insurance policies. Nobody wants an insurance policy, right? But I break it down to a cup of coffee. That's the same thing as my sleep consultation packages. When you do the math for this age group, this school-age child, is it worth $2.27 a night in order for your 5-year-old to get really good sleep? Just one cup of coffee, not the $6 latte that I decided to buy today as a treat after my hike up Knox Mountain, right? So yes, it's an insurance policy. And then if your child does develop health issues down the road, or say has special needs, well, they're gonna be better rested, and you are gonna be better rested as a parent to cope with those additional challenges. So really great question. My next question comes in, says, my daughter falls asleep in front of the TV almost every night, bracket guilty admission. It's just easier for us. How do we break this habit? Oh my gosh, mom or dad, I love this question. And yeah, even Mary in her pivotal work here, she writes in her book how parents were lying to their pediatricians, not confessing their sins regarding sleep. I've had medical professionals, it's a key demographic, who hire me. And there was one mom in a recent consultation who was like, I know I'm doing everything wrong. She reached out for a 15-minute call, and I'm like, Mom, you're doing everything right. So, whoever asked this question, you're doing everything right for now, and you recognize that you need to change it. So, I'm so glad that you're here. So how do you do it? Well, it's probably going to take a lot of work, but it's going to be worth it. So I want you, first of all, to enter the contest so that we can help you from a professional standpoint should you win the consultation package, right? So chances are, when we look at this, and I smile here, when we look at my Sleep Smarts formula, when I'm talking at schools, I'm educating parents that they need to model the behavior. So I smiled there. And if you've just tuned in, my name is Pam, and I'm the proud founder of Pam Nease Sleep, and I want you to enter the contest, and I want you to start asking your sleepy questions below. I've just got a really great question from a mom or dad who says that their child falls asleep in front of the television every single night. How do they break this habit? Well, chances are those parents probably have a television in their bedroom, and chances are they're falling asleep in front of the television as well. So I know this is really, really hard, but you need to model the behavior that you expect of your child. I know, but think about, I love 7-Up. What do you see the 2-year-old? I love 7-Up. When they are watching more than they're listening. So if they see parents in beds with televisions and gadgets, what do they think is going to be normal? To have television and gadgets in order to fall asleep. So how can you make this so much easier? Well, by entering today's contest, you're going to get access to a video called Sleep Your Way to the Top. Okay? And it'll give you practical and simple tips on how to improve your own sleep as an adult so you can model the behavior in front of your children. Because another part of the problem is that if your child sees you wake up really tired every single morning grasping for the cup of coffee, are they going to think that that's normal? Yeah, they're going to think, okay, my mom and dad wake up grumpy and tired, complaining that they didn't get a good night's sleep. I guess that's normal. Well, it might be it might be common, but it's not normal. So you need to model the behavior. How do you do that easily with I'm just going to go back in here. I don't see how old this child is. Well, when it comes to technology, I know this one's really tough in today's society. Every second kid, including my own, have cell phones in their hands. So how do you get this technology off in time so that your child can fall asleep easier and stay asleep all through the night and not need it in order to go from A, awake, to B, asleep? Okay, how do you do that? Well, you need to do my 5-step system first. You need to create an optimal space environment. You need to work with the science of sleep. You need to acknowledge that it truly is a skill, right? And then you create a loving routine, like I mentioned earlier in today's video. And then when it comes to technology, what we did with this one particular family, because the gadgets were really problematic, is what mom and dad did, they took their cell phones plus the kids' phones and they put them in a safe every single night so that they were modeling the behavior and connecting with their child, right? So you've got to find something that's more inviting for your child than television. And I know that is going to be difficult, right? So then you're going to have to find a system that works for you and your family. Whoops, I'm just seeing if I can get that to work. No, it's just not cooperating. Sorry, this is history in the making. This is the 4th time that I've used this really fancy board for those of you who are tuning in and watching. So bear with me, I can get kids sleeping like a machine, but I can't use technology. So where I was trying to go here is a system. a method, a way of a child saying goodbye to various external strategies and hello internal skill. And that's what we do every single day at my company. We remove external strategies from sleep so a child can fall asleep even drug-free in order to initiate sleep and maintain sleep. And what I mean by drug-free is a lot of parents are using things like melatonin and even CBD. We're working hard to remove those things out of the equation so that these children can develop healthy sleep habits. So if your child is falling asleep at the television, which is common, then you're going to have to teach them how to say goodbye to that television. And I wish it was as simple as saying doing XYZ. The information today that I'm sharing with you is the step in the right direction. The next thing that you're going to have to do is find a system or a method or a person that you feel comfortable working with to help your daughter say goodbye to the television, or your son to the television, because the longer the habit or the association that has been built, the harder it is to change. And if you are an adult watching this, which you are, I want you to think about your own habits. How many of you tried to instill, such as healthy diet, healthy exercise? How hard is it to do that? And how hard is it to change a habit? It's the same thing with sleep. So I'm so glad that you're here today, hopefully to get educated and empowered to not wait another day, not wait another minute, not wait another hour, but to take action today. Because it might be common to see your child go through good sleep, bad sleep, whatever. It's not normal. All typically developing children can fall asleep easily at the beginning of the night and stay asleep easily throughout the night. It is possible, and I invite you to find a system or a method. And if you want to cut through all the books and dispense with all the research, well, there's a special offer for you that you can take advantage of. The link is in below. Hello, my daughter is 5, 6 in September, and goes to bed by 7:15 and asleep by within 5 to 10 minutes. But she wakes up on her own between 5 and 6. Is that enough sleep? Oh, wow. Okay, so and then she has another great question, or he has another great question. My daughter also still bedwets, and her older sister, who is 8, still bedwets as well. They use pull-ups. My 5-year-old never wakes up dry, and my 8-year-old is sometimes dry. Should I wake them up at night? They both were daytime and nap time potty trained by 2 years old. This is such a great question. Thanks so much for tuning in. So I'm going to start with the first question, that this child, who's 6 in September, falls asleep at 7:15 and wakes up between 5 and 6 a.m. So mom and dad, that is enough sleep if you're doing it consistently 7 days a week. So if she has a really great consistent sleep-wake schedule, and she's at her optimal during the day as far as her mood, her disposition, and her learning, yeah, she's getting enough sleep. And I know this is shocking, but you can actually move to a later bedtime so she can wake up later. I know, how great is that? You can spend more time in the evenings doing great things with these two kids and not be in such a rush to get them to bed. That's exciting news for you, I hope. I know a lot of parents want their kids in bed by 7, but yes, as they grow older, kids require less sleep. Now, there's lots of little asterisks on that. Children are much like us adults. Some adults require, 9 hours every night to feel good. And there's other adults who, like the sleep doctor, Dr. Michael Bruce, only needs 6 hours and 30 minutes, apparently, to feel good. So there's a range, just like there is with adults. How do you know? You need to have what's known as a consistent sleep schedule for a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks. So you need to go to bed around the same time and let your body wake up around the same time every day in order to know whether or not you're getting sufficient sleep. However, the best way to determine it is based on the mood, disposition, and behavior of your child. And if at any point you're like, I think they're lacking sleep, then you just give them more. And I don't want you just to investigate the quantity, but the quality of your child's sleep. So next great question is about bedwetting. I actually have a whole blog post on nighttime potty training and bedwetting. Because of the age of your children, I would say that it would be a really good idea at this point, because I'm thinking with an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, you've probably exhausted absolutely everything at this point, that you invest in a device called therapy. Okay, so if you've talked to your trusted medical professionals over and over again, is there a reason why my 2 children are still wetting the bed? And they're saying, well, statistically, it's normal. You know, some kids, they don't grow out of it until whatever. I say, no, I want you to investigate a device called therapy. So we'll post the link to my whole advice around potty training and bedwetting below, so you can learn more about that as well as this device. Now you'll notice that it is a bit of an investment. Yeah, but it's going to save you money in the long run on those pull-ups. And oh my gosh, I could keep you here telling you stories about children that are still wetting the bed at 14. And yeah, that's no fun when you're trying to go away to camp or have a life, right? So yes, I'm so glad that you've tuned in. And the great thing about this therapy device is that it's transferable. So you can use it with your 8-year-old, and then you can use it with your 5-year-old, and you'll end up saving a lot of money on pull-ups. When I'm doing my behavioral sleep interventions with children, let's say it's a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, as part of our consultation process, if we identify that the child is still using pull-ups and have been potty trained during the day, then quite often we're helping those families, if they want us to help them get rid of their pull-ups in order to achieve that as well. So great sleepers by night, as well as being able to hold their urine all night long as well. Now, one last word. With these, I haven't updated this blog post, and I need to do it. I want you to take a look at how your daughters are sleeping. They're both girls. If they're mouth breathing, that is a concern. And the theory is that if the mouth is open while asleep, then the brain is focused on getting enough oxygen and therefore can't hold the urine at the same time. So there's a correlation between sleep apnea, as it's called, as well as bedwetting. So this is really what I really want to get the message out to the world, is I want you to focus not just on the quantity of sleep, but also the quality of your child's sleep. So thanks so much for tuning in and asking that great question. We've got 3 minutes to go. I've got one more question here. And if you're with me, post the question below and I'll do my best to answer it quickly. Are there signs I should look for that indicate my child needs more sleep? Yes, all the signs are. Oh my gosh, I'm tongue-tied. If your child isn't waking up happy on their own and going to bed happy on their own, that's the number one sign that they're not getting enough sleep. If your daycare providers or your teachers are reporting that your child is having trouble focusing or sitting still, that's another sign that they could be lacking sleep. If your caregivers or you as a parent are concerned about your child's behavior, such as hitting, kicking, and you're constantly having to give them timeouts to manage their behavior, or you're concerned about how they're functioning, then that is a really great sign that sleep could be the root problem. And I could go on with more and more. So basically, if you Google the signs for sleep deprivation in children, and then you Google the signs of ADHD in children, they're exactly the same. And what's happening in today's North American society, it's much easier to jump to ADHD and prescribe a pill than look at the real problem, which is sleep. Now, having said that, could your child still have ADHD? Absolutely. I've got a client who has been given that label. But now that he's sleeping better, he's able to cope with that special need so much easier. So if your child isn't waking up happy and enjoying life, then I encourage you to look at sleep, because it is the foundation to good health. It's where it all starts. And I want you to think of you. I want you to imagine you denying yourself sleep, and chances are you're probably sleep deprived too, and you're coping with caffeine and all that, right? How do you feel the next morning? How do you function the next day? So for example, when I don't honor my sleep and I don't get a good night's rest, if I stub my toe, it is like I've broken my toe. It's the same thing with our children. It's the exact same thing. So if you are noticing that your child is really struggling through the day, I want you to think about you operating on lack of sleep and take a look at them and go, could it be, like Mary says, and many others, the real problem is that they're not getting enough or getting proper quality. And if you want professional help to make that happen for your family, oh my gosh, we'd be so honored to help you. You can enter today's contest with the link below, or if you're watching the replay, there's also a special offer, and we would love to guide you through and help you get your child sleeping like a machine and help them get set up for a lifetime of success. So with that, we're gonna wrap up, because you need to get back to work, or you need to get back to your life. And I want to thank you again for joining me today on Facebook Live or watching the replay. If you are, either way, it tells me that sleep is a priority. It is on your radar. And if you still have a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old or 8-year-old or a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old that is still not sleeping, well, I really invite you to take action and get a professional and make it easier on you to get sleep. It doesn't have to be Pam Nease sleep. You can pick somebody else, right? But I really want you to take action. And the reason why I want you to work with a professional rather than working with all those books over there, well, if you've been working on this for 5 to 10 years, those books are really great and they're very helpful and they're full of really helpful information. However, everything in life, whether we look at the swimming lessons that you're doing for your child, the piano lessons that you're doing for your child, whatever it might be, a coach is instrumental in getting that child to achieve success, right? So that's why I encourage you with this age group to get a professional to help you. It'll make all the difference in the world. So thanks again for tuning in. Download those videos, download those links, enter the contest. And if you have families, or you know parents that are struggling with autism and sleep, well, that's what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. And if you know people that have babies or newborns or toddlers and preschoolers, well, you can go back and you can watch those replays that I did earlier this week. Thanks again, and bye for now. That's a wrap. How do I do that? I don't know how to do the wrap. How do I turn that off? We'll have to edit that out of the replay. Usually I have Matt.